Haitians who fled the U.S. border are now facing nights of raid and terror in Mexico. BuzzFeed News says the same thing. Haitians who fled the U.S. border are now facing nights of raids and terror in Mexico. One Haitian father chased from the U.S. border by dire conditions and the threat of deportation flights defended his family from armed Mexican officials at the hotel in an early morning standoff. And so you got the Mexican agents coming and taking you out at night, and we can get some up close photos of you having to leave at night. No rest, people. And then it's like it is, you have to leave, right? So we're gonna get into this.
Whitlow, were you able to speak to some of the Haitians that have been deported from the United States and have been landing in Port-au-Prince? What are they thinking right now?
Yes, I was on the ground to speak to some of these people who, came freshly from the US. And it's a very difficult situation, actually, because if you talk to these people, some of them, spend the little economy that they built outside of the country, sometimes, in Chile, in Brazil. And these people took a very dangerous journey. They, recount you horrific stories. And these people, when they finally reached the US, they thought, their suffering was over.
Underneath the soaring jungle canopy, migrants from around the world risk death crossing the jungle in a desperate bid to reach the US and Canada. They have no map and no instructions on how to make it through one of the world's most dangerous migration routes.
I would like to send a message to anyone who is thinking of doing this route. It's very dangerous. If I knew this, I wouldn't have done it.
God, the pain is too much.
Yeah.
The pain is more than me.
I've had to see mothers who tell their children they can't go on, to give themselves up to God. For anyone who has a family or kids, that breaks your heart.
Another smuggler, who can't be identified, told us he came across this migrant who had been injured and spent 2 weeks on this mountainside.
He was only crawling like a child. It's common. Most people who injure themselves die because there's no help for them.
The children cry of hunger. There's no food. There's nothing.
The rivers often pull children from their parents' arms and sweep migrants to their death.
After, the thief said, "Go off and leave the woman behind." And so he's walking, but looking behind, and sees these guys lowering his wife's underwear.
One of the men assaulted her, penetrating her intimate parts with his fingers. Later, we heard many stories of this and other abuse on the trail.
When they finally reached the US, they thought, their suffering was over. But, well, guess not. It was not over, because one woman told me, she was treated, worse by US authorities, by US agents.
Yo tengo dos personas que están aquí y el marido fue a comprarla allá afuera, salí a comprarla afuera, inmigración se agarra y mandarlo para allá y los niños están aquí.
If Haiti, a god-awful thing to say, if Haiti just quietly sunk into the Caribbean or rose up 300 feet, it wouldn't matter a whole lot in terms of our
But just to add, if this is what we see, is it the president's stance or the White House's stance that whoever these border agents are using what seems to be whips on migrants, that they would be fired or at least never be able to do that again?
Of course they should never be able to do it again. I don't know what the circumstances would be. It's obviously horrific, the footage. I don't have any more information on it, so let me venture to do that and we'll see if there's more to convey.
Remember, the two past administrations were supported by the US, and this is under these administrations that the situation in the country worsens. And I talked to experts who told me there is again trafficking problem in the US that is causing chaos in Haiti. And this is because of these traffic that, a lot of people lose their jobs and they can't, stay in the country. So it's a never ending cycle.